For years, the world had decided that tanks were a thing of the past, too slow, too heavy, and no longer relevant in modern warfare. Drones, precision missiles, and cyber warfare were supposed to take their place, making these armored giants obsolete. Military strategists and defense experts around the globe claimed that the era of the tank was over. But then came this war, and Israel proved them all wrong.
On the battlefields of Gaza and along the northern border, the Merkava tank has not only survived, it has dominated. It has smashed through enemy lines, absorbed missile fire, and provided the firepower and protection that no drone or guided missile could replace. In brutal urban combat, where Hamas and Hezbollah fighters thought they had the upper hand, Israeli tanks became an unstoppable force, shielding troops, breaking through defenses, and turning the tide of battle. So today, we're diving into how Israel rewrote the rulebook on modern tank warfare, showing the world that when it comes to the battlefield, tanks aren't just relevant, they are essential. But before we dive in, hit like, share, and subscribe. Stay locked in for more hardcore action, insane machines, and the wildest stories from the front lines.
But to explain where we are, I'm gonna climb the tank for a while.
Okay, I'll try. So we're here at Latrun, the heart of Israel's armored core legacy, and home to the legendary Merkava series, the pride of the IDF's tank battalions. But this place isn't just a museum. It's a symbol of Israel's armored strength, where generations of tank crews, myself and Yair included, by the way, have trained, and where the story of the Merkava truly begins. Designed and built in Israel, the Merkava isn't just another tank. It's a symbol of the IDF's commitment to innovation, technology, and evolution. Each model building upon the lessons learned from the previous conflicts and continued emerging threats, ensuring that Israel's armored core remains at the forefront of modern warfare. So before we discuss how the Merkava strategically helped beat our enemies on the recent battlefield, let's take a trip down the Merkava memory lane. In the 60s and 70s, there was an international boycott against the state of Israel. This is after the '67 war. Most Arab countries boycotted us, but what they did is they pressured international corporations and countries not to sell anything to Israel.
Yeah.
Because before that, Israel relied on French tanks, the AMX. We had British tanks, the Chieftain, and others. And at a certain point, both the British and the French said, we don't think we're going to sell you weaponry anymore.
Yeah.
They left us without the ability to purchase any more planes, any more tanks, and the ammunition that goes with them. And Israel in the early 70s says, wait a minute, we need to make our own tank. They make the first iteration of the tank. This is the Merkava Mark I.
Yeah, meaning a chariot.
It hits Israeli military just before the First Lebanon War. So the First Lebanon War is in the beginning of the 80s, and this comes into service in 1979. There's a man, by the way, that's worth mentioning.
Israel Tal.
Israel Tal.
Yeah.
Israel Tal is sort of the father of the Israeli tank.
He invented every little piece in this machine, and he developed all the Merkava tanks.
There's a couple main characteristics that are abnormal about this tank. The main one being that the engine bay is in the front of the tank and not in the back of the tank.
This part is the engine of the tank. What's different about it is that the engine is protecting the personnel of the tank from incoming missiles. So if a missile hit this area, then it will destroy the engine and the tank, but it will not reach the crew.
The Israeli army has this doctrine. We're a small country. It costs us a lot of money to train our crew. So we're going to invest everything we can in the survivability of the crew. So the tank is going to be complicated, it's going to be expensive, but it's going to protect the crew to the best of our ability.
Do you remember the slogan of the Armored Corps? האדם שבטנק ינצח.
The man in the tank will be victorious.
Yeah, the man in the tank will win, and not like the machine will win.
Yes.
So this is the emphasis.
It truly is about that. We spend an enormous amount of time. I'll say this for the camera, both Yair and I are tank officers, but to become a tank officer, you have to go through all the different roles in the tank.
Remember, every morning we had to crawl underneath the tank and to check and make sure each screw of the track is aligned. And like, let's say here, okay, you have a missing piece here. So this can be a big deal because because of one missing piece on the tracks, the tank can be demobilized in the middle of a maneuver or a war.
So the Mark I sees its first battle experience in the First Lebanon War. And the first version of this wasn't loved in the way that the current ones are by the tankers. It has reliability issues, the fire control system has problems, technical issues.
Oil issues that are dripping on you when you're inside.
Yeah. So instead of taking years to think about this, they almost immediately iterate. So 79, 1983, Mark II Merkava. It serves in Lebanon, and as much of it is designed for Lebanon.
Do you still remember how to climb it?
I do remember, yeah. The Mark II has a couple special things about it. One, it's the last tank that we make that has the 105 millimeter rifled bore cannon, not the smooth bore cannon. The Mark III and the Mark IV already switched to the smooth bore cannon, which we'll explain on the next tank. It has a considerably upgraded fire control system that's then upgraded several times throughout history. It has much, much better crew survivability because of the safety elements on it.
And it's still very small compared to the modern Merkava 4 tanks.
Yeah, it's a much smaller tank.
Yeah.
And it still has the classic configuration of 2 ports on the top.
Yeah.
A loader, which was my first role in the tank, and a commander hatch on the top.
Just so you know, where I'm standing here, there is a machine gun. There's another machine gun here, and then another machine gun where Mati is standing that he's coming out of the next to the cannon.
This one in English is called the coaxial machine gun. Coaxial just means it runs on the same axis as the main cannon. So Mark II, then we go to the Mark III Merkava. The Mark III Merkava, when I went into the Army, was the best and the newest of the...
They are still operational, Mark III.
Yeah,
they were with me in the Gaza Strip.
Amazing tanks.
Just now.
Yeah, amazing tanks.
Yeah.
The Mark III, I should say, in its first version, goes into service in the late 80s. But the latest iteration of it, which is the Baz Mark III, Baz is the name of the fire control system, comes into service, I want to say, in the mid-90s. This is the newest gun and the one we still have on our tanks.
Yeah.
It's a smooth bore, 120 millimeter cannon. By the way, made by Israel. So the Mark III is a huge leap forward in survivability for the crew, a huge leap forward when it comes to the tank's ability to cross terrain. It's higher, it's faster, it has 1,200 horsepower, it's a beast off-road, an amazing, amazing machine. And for many, many years, this was the best tank in Israel, and I would dare say the best tank in the world.
Yeah, definitely. And what this 120 millimeters cannon gives you is the option to fire all kinds of missiles, projectiles, and other munitions that are also electronic and smart, not just a bullet that flies.
Exactly. Let's go to the newest kid on the block. This is the Merkava Mark IV.
I grew up on this tank.
I transitioned to this as a huge upgrade to the previous tank I was on. We have, again, the smooth bore 120 millimeter.
Same firepower operation.
Amazing, amazing fire control system on this tank. The electronics are the best of, not 2024 or 25, but let's say back then.
Of what?
2000.
2007. Each crew member has his own computer with a screen. It has a reverse camera for the driver, night vision stuff. And this tank has also like an engine of a plane, basically. It has 1,500 horsepower.
Yeah. This tank is the dream.
It's huge.
It's higher off the ground, wider tracks, larger surface area on the tracks. Everything is bigger, everything is better. The Mark II and III were built thinking of warfare in the Golan Heights. Because the biggest enemy was Syria. Now this tank was built thinking that we will fight in any other arena, including urban warfare.
Including the Gaza Strip, including you know, the Sinai Peninsula, including Syria, including Lebanon. And that's what this tank is for. And what's amazing about the accuracy of this tank is it can hit for up to 5 kilometers or even more.
We went through the Mark I, II, III, and IV Merkava tanks.
These are the operational tanks that are fighting in the battlefields in the Gaza Strip, in Lebanon, at the moment, as we speak. And also Mark III.
There's 2 things that we have to highlight here, which is one, that the IDF's ability is abnormal in global manufacturers. We're able to iterate from one tank to the next. I was in some of the earliest Mark IVs that were introduced into service. You would see that from one serial number to the next, they would improve everything that was wrong or broken or required fixing.
I remember
Incredible
that.
speed.
They would ask us, the officers, the soldiers, to tell them what was wrong. and then they would fix it on a daily basis, like what were the problems that we encountered and how we can fix them.
So now the Mark IV is still called the Mark IV. You got to experience the newest iteration of the Merkava now in Gaza.
Yeah.
What was it?
It was Merkava B and M with the trophy and anti-rocket.
So the active armor.
Yeah, exactly. Not all tanks had it, depending on the availability. But what it does basically is it's an active detective system that detects when a missile is fired at the tank and fires a small projectile or something to basically intercept this missile within seconds and then defend the crew before the missile hits the tank. Once the missile hits the tanks, there are other defensive systems to prevent the tank from exploding or the missile from intercepting inside the tank and killing the people.
Initiating, yeah.
Yeah.
So the next, what people are sort of calling the Mark V Merkava tank is called the Barak tank, and it's supposed to take everything we've learned recently, add in a spice of AI on top.
Yeah, and what's cool about it is basically taking the technologies, let's say the helmet of an airplane pilot, and putting it on a tank commander.
Yeah.
So you have basically a 360 screen attached to your helmet in the tank, and just by looking at some directions, the AI of the tank can identify a threat, can identify an obstacle or a civilian in seconds. And what you see basically in this tank is touch screens and the commander just, pointing towards directions, and you don't have the need for all the manpower inside the tank because some of the systems are autonomous.
That's what I find incredible is like how fast this technology is integrated, how quick the IDF is especially in this season of war.
Yeah.
And just taking everything we can from every sector of the market and implementing it to protect our soldiers and to be more effective in warfare.
A war zone in the Gaza Strip being under fire by Hamas terrorists. You don't have time to sit and drink your coffee and wake up in the morning and get ready for the day and prepare. So sometimes I woke up at 2 in the morning after an hour and a half of sleep, and you need to wake up immediately and do your job and do it to perfection or people die.
You literally have your life on the line. You don't know what corner you turn and somebody's got a gun pointed at you.
So in order to wake up, I just took a Vinia pill, and I really felt the energy levels go up faster. The clarity of mind that doesn't usually happen immediately when you wake up in the morning.
Right.
And I don't remember taking much stuff with me into the Gaza Strip. I had my sleeping bag, a flashlight, and the Vinia bottle. So that's what I had with me.
You're a young person. You're very healthy, but you still think that Vinia was helpful to get you to even a higher level of performance?
It's helping me to exceed my normal abilities. So let's say, I'm at 100%, and that puts me at 120. With raising 3 kids, you need to be sharp and make the right decisions.
Raising 3 kids may be equal to combat.
A lot harder, a lot harder. Listen, I'm still taking Vinia every day because I want to be there with my kids when they grow old. I want to be able to dance at their wedding and carry my kids and my grandkids for years to come. And this is the time to start, when you're young.
We're going to go now to the cutout tank to sort of give people the experience of the claustrophobic experience, I should say, of what it looks like to live inside of a tank.
Yeah, this is the reason I wanted to be an officer and a commander, so I can have my head outside of the tank and stand tall and not be cramped as a gunner.
So we're coming up to the cutout tank.
Cut into 2.
Cut into 2.
Yeah.
This is an American-made M48. In Israel, it had a different name. It was called the Magach 5. But we can really get an impression of what it is to be inside of a tank, how confined it is, but also how smart the use of space is. It has a loader, it has a commander, it has a gunner, and it has a driver sitting to the right of the camera.
So you see how close the commander and the gunner are sitting next to each other? Okay, so this is in case one of the crew falls asleep, you can kick him.
I want to comment one more thing. You said this earlier. Our motto in the Israeli Armored Corps is the man in the tank will win.
Yeah.
And what I learned from this whole experience I did 5 years in regular service, and then, we do reserves, obviously. You learn how powerful a team of people that works together is. And you see that in the tanks. It's these 4 people on their own They're probably not the best of soldiers in the IDF.
Individually, but as a tank unit.
But as a tank unit operating the mechanical power of the tank, the firepower of the tank, the intelligence power, the cooperative power of the tank, it's an unstoppable fire and mobility force on the battlefield. Yeah.
You sleep in the tank, you eat on the tank, you wake up, you clean the tank, you practice with the tank, and then if you want to go home, you need to make sure that the tank is
clean and ready for the weekend.
And ready for the weekend before you leave it and go back to your mother.
I started my military service and my officer school on that tank, the Magach 6B. And these are Vietnam-era tanks. These are American-made tanks from the 60s that were upgraded. And this system is an Israeli invention that was later stolen by the Russians and
chocolate bars.
Yeah, we call them chocoladim chocolates. These are small plates with explosives in them that react to armor-piercing anti-tank-like rockets. I feel a bit nostalgic being here and standing at this tank, and it brings back all the memories being here, and also what an incredible experience it was fighting on a tank. I was on something like this. We're talking in the early 2000s. Before it was cool to be in Gaza, I was already in Gaza, on a tank, and in many other places. Amazing war machines, amazing war machines. And also I'll say this, a tank that old, even back then, it taught you a discipline of how to fight and how to work on your mechanics. You were showing the track of the Merkavot earlier. Look at this. There's screws everywhere you look on this track. This thing, it was hours of work every time to work on the track system. But what a machine it was when it worked.
You have basically two things that keep you alive in the tank's battlefield and in war in Israel. One is the people around you, okay, that you need to count on your crew, on your team, and the soldiers next to you. And the second is
taking care of your machine.
Taking care of your machine. Yeah. It's very nostalgic.
No, it stuck with me. The discipline of taking care of your vehicle and your machinery, it stuck with me for life after serving on a tank.
So tanks in the battlefield do not operate alone because they also have weaknesses.
Yes.
So what we see, especially in Israel, and what we've seen great success in this war, is the cooperation between different military forces.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the tanks units, the infantry, the Navy, the Air Force, and special units, especially with the 9 forces and engineering units working together in order to, only show the advantages and not the weaknesses of each unit individually.
Yeah. So we didn't invent this, by the way, but the Israeli army did something very, very unique. It almost perfected the use of joint battle groups in urban warfare.
Yeah.
I trained this way, you trained this way, definitely in officer school. You think in the way of multiple disciplines fighting together.
Yeah.
You have a tank unit is always supported by infantry. An infantry unit is always supported by armor. You always have artillery fighting together.
And the Air Force looking from the skies and giving you air support. And this is something that really helps in this battlefield. Just take a look at a tank. It's very hard to defend yourself from the close range.
Yeah.
But if you have an infantry unit next to you on this tree or something like that, they can defend you. So make sure that no terrorist comes and just, jumps on the tank and launch an attack from 5 meters.
I think armies around the world are going to be studying this for years to come. The IDF in this last war, it not only fought together, it did something also unique. It did it quickly.
Yeah,
and that's what I think
and effectively.
The English term for this is danger close.
Yeah.
Everything in Gaza was danger close. Everything in Lebanon is danger close. The infantry is here, the tanks are here, and the Air Force strike is here. Is hundreds of yards away, striking in a structure. And the cooperation between intelligence and meshing of technologies, and the image from satellites and aerial assets with tank images and video cameras on special forces on the field, that sort of took a shape in this war that didn't exist before. That's really something that's special. And not only did they do that, they did it effectively.
We talk to each other, in the battlefield, which is very hard because each unit is talking in a different language. Yeah. Like the Air Force is talking different from the infantry, and then the tanks are talking different from the infantry and the Air Force. The Navy talks differently. It's all different systems and operations, and we were able to bridge these gaps.
What did it say? Necessity is the father of all innovation. And our army just got really, really good this past war of quickly adapting, changing, fixing, and learning how to work collaboratively, maximizing the firepower of the tanks and the efficacy of the tanks, maximizing the infantry work, maximizing the cooperation of the Air Force. It all just worked well. Taking a craft that was practiced to a certain degree and really turning it into a well-versed doctrine that the army utilizes. Yeah. As you can see, with the Merkava at the core of the fleet, the IDF moves as a synchronized force, unstoppable on the battlefield and securing victory.
For those who thought the tanks were a thing of the past, the Merkava just proved them wrong. This isn't just some relic of old-school warfare. It's the future, and the Merkava isn't going anywhere except forward, leading the charge and redefining modern armored warfare. So, if this war has shown us anything, it's that tanks are here to stay.
Absolutely. Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.